Good afternoon, Professor. My name is Helen Harper, and this is my video, the last assignment for this module. So, there are a lot of considerations when choosing material. For example, it is very important to choose material that is relevant for the students. This has actually been a very interesting module for me because materials has been something I've changed a lot during my teaching. When I first came to Mexico, I brought a lot of materials, authentic materials from Britain, which in some ways were interesting, but actually in the end were not relevant for the students because they talked about too many things that the students had no knowledge about. So it is very important to choose materials that the students are going to be able to connect with. And that activates their previous knowledge or relates to experiences that they have had. On the other hand, the material should not suppose too much, and sometimes there is just too much to explain. The teacher needs to give too much context, which takes up too much time in the lesson, or the students just get bored and don't understand the materials at all. The material should obviously fit with the topic that the teacher is covering, but I would say it's important to try and advance the students as well, give them a new context or add extra vocabulary, so that it's the same topic but not more of the same thing that the students have been looking at in class. And another very important thing for any material is the teacher should be very clear what this material is going to be used for. It's very tempting for teachers to use things that are just going to be fun and interesting. And of course, having fun in the class is fine, but you shouldn't do that too often. The students want to know that what they are doing has a real purpose, even if it is only to practice a grammar structure or something. But you're not going to do a reading text just because it's there in the textbook. There has to be some clear objective of what this reading text is for. So I would say that teachers don't create their own materials so much anymore. There are several reasons for this. One is teachers really have so little time to make really beautiful, creative, artistic materials, and also a lot of teachers just don't have those kind of skills. We like teaching, but we are not artists, we are not um, good with our hands, and I know that that is a problem for me. I just can't work out how to make really beautiful, creative materials. Um, but on the other hand, it is not even so necessary. There are so many materials available on the internet now that you can just download, copy and paste, print out, put together yourself, which obviously causes difficulty as well. As I was saying before, you have to be very discerning as to what materials you are going to use. But in some ways, there are so many possibilities of materials that you are bound to find something that you could use in your own classes. The important thing, of course, is to work out what activities you are going to use with those materials. Like I said, any material should have a specific purpose, and that goes with the activities that you are going to design to go with that material. I was really interested to get some real students' opinions because I decided to ask my actual students about what they thought of the materials their teachers use in their classes, and I did get a real mixture of responses. Um, For example, one student said that she felt the materials her teachers used were very interesting, were very useful, and there was a good variety, and that they really helped her learning. However, another student said that only about 45% of the materials that his teachers brought were at all relevant or interesting to what they were studying, and the rest were mostly too advanced, too complicated, or just plain boring. And another student said that on the one hand, some teachers used PowerPoint, which he really liked, lots of multimedia, videos, and images, but other teachers used nothing but the textbook, which he found very boring. Um, and the final student I asked felt that her teacher's materials made the classes more interesting and gave a lot of examples of language in context, which she found very useful. So it's very interesting to see how students see materials differently. I tried to ask a range of students from different semesters with different, shall we say, attitudes to learning, and but it really serves to highlight how different students can react in totally different ways to the same materials or the same strategies. Finally, what I got from chapter 4 was the importance of focusing materials on the tasks that you are going to be doing in the class. As I was saying, what are your goals? What are you actually going to do in this class? It might not turn out the way you plan, but you should at least have a plan. And as I was saying, classes are not just about having fun. There should be a specific purpose. And the materials as an input for the tasks, and depending on the student's level, are you just going to give them the material? Are you going to explain it? Are you going to help them with vocabulary? And again, you have to be very clear about what input you are going to give and how. And then, as I was saying, the activities that are going to follow from that material. Materials should help practice all the 4 skills: speaking, listening, reading, and writing. I think sometimes most of the materials focus on reading. There are lots of texts, lots of worksheets, but there should be other things as well that encourage speaking. For example, you have some information, if it's a leaflet or a menu or something, but the student then has to do something with it. It's very important to bear in mind the ability of your students. As we know, most groups are mixed ability, even though we would like all our students to have the same level, but it rarely happens. And again, how are you going to make sure that all your students participate fully in the class and get the most out of the materials that you bring to the class? So to conclude, I would say that material design, adaptation is a very complex process, and you really do have to be very clear what these materials are for and how your students are going to react to them. And I would say that's the most important thing for any teacher to bear in mind. Thank you.